The alarm bells screamed through the command center of Harmony's Edge, the massive space station that served as the heart of the Galactic Council. Red lights flashed across every surface as workers scrambled at their control panels, their many arms and tentacles moving fast over glowing displays. Council Prime Velthar stood frozen at the center of it all. Her crystal body, normally a calm blue color, now flashed with quick bursts of orange and red. Fear, pure fear, ran through her clear form as she stared at the main screen. "Report," she commanded, her voice making the air shake with strange tones. Admiral Crix, a huge warrior from the Malthan system, turned his scared face toward her. His 4 eyes blinked one after another, a sign of great stress among his people. "Prime, we have a massive break-in at Sector 7. Something came through hyperspace right into our inner system." "That cannot be," Velthar whispered. The Kepler 442 system was the most protected space in the known galaxy. 17 different defense networks surrounded it. Sensor systems that could spot a small rock entering hyperspace from 3 systems away watched every path. Nothing could get through without being seen days before. But there it was on the screen. A ship unlike anything in their record sat still in the heart of their system, just 2 million kilometers from Harmony's Edge itself. It was huge, easily bigger than their largest warships. Strange shapes and curves covered its dark hull, and energy readings showed power levels that made their best ships look like toys. "Sir," called out Worker Yalth from her station, her snake-like body tight with worry. "The ship appears to be of human origin." Every being in the command center went quiet. Even the constant humming of the station's system seemed to stop. Velthar felt her core temperature drop. "Human," she repeated, hoping she had heard wrong. "Yes, Prime. Hull design matches records from the Sol system, though this ship is much larger than anything we have seen before. The energy signature is clearly human technology, but far more advanced than we expected." Admiral Crix moved to stand beside Velthar, his heavy boots making small shakes in the floor. "Prime, this changes everything. The quarantine has been broken." Velthar nodded slowly. 50 years ago, the Council had built the Sol quarantine zone after their first and only meeting with humanity. One small human exploration ship had wandered into Council space by accident. When they tried to escort it back to human territory, the humans had fought back with such deadly skill that 3 Council fleets were left broken and floating in space. The humans had not destroyed the fleets completely. They had disabled them with perfect precision, then simply left. No demands, no threats, no talk beyond a simple message. "Stay away from our space and we will stay away from yours." The Council had been happy to agree. They built a wall of sensor devices and automatic defense platforms around the Sol system, keeping humanity trapped in their small corner of the galaxy. For 50 years, it had worked perfectly. Now a human warship sat in the middle of their most secure system, having passed every defense as if they were nothing more than space junk. "How did it get through?" Velthar asked. Crick studied the tactical displays, his warrior mind trying to understand what he was seeing. "Unknown, Prime. Our sensor logs show nothing until it was already here. No hyperspace signature, no energy trail, nothing. It simply appeared." "That is not possible," said Chief Engineer Thyman, his insect-like wings buzzing with worry. "Hyperspace travel leaves marks. Physics demands it. You cannot simply appear in normal space without transition signs." "Tell that to the humans," Crix growled. On the main screen, the human ship remained perfectly still. Its weapon systems were powered, they could see that much, but nothing was aimed. No shields were raised, no fighters launched. It just sat there like a sleeping giant waiting. "Have they answered our calls?" Velthar asked. "No, Prime," replied Communications Officer Zenth. "We have sent standard greeting messages in 17 different languages, including the human language they used 50 years ago. No response. What about our fleet positions?" Crix turned on a holographic display that showed the entire system. "Third Fleet is doing training exercises in the outer system. They can be here in 4 hours. 7th Fleet is docked at Harmony Station for supplies, but they can launch in 30 minutes. Home Defense Grid has 12 battlecruisers on patrol." Against that thing, Velthar looked at the human ship again. Every instinct told her that their entire combined fleet would be like throwing small stones at a mountain. "Prime," Yalth called out from her sensor station. "I am detecting movement aboard the human ship. Life signs suggest a crew of about 500 beings. The ship appears to be fully working. 500. The Council's largest warships needed crews of over 10,000. How could something that massive work with so few people? Energy readings? Velthar asked. Off the scale, Prime. Their power generation is at least 50 times greater than our most advanced reactors. The readings do not match any known technology. Admiral Crick studied the tactical data with growing worry. In his long military career, he had fought against the Xerian Empire, survived the Plague Wars, and earned his rank through countless battles. He understood warfare, understood the balance of power and technology. This human ship made no sense. Prime, he said quietly. I recommend we evacuate the station. Evacuate? Velthar turned to stare at him. Admiral, this is the seat of galactic government. We cannot simply run from one ship. That is not just one ship, Crix replied. Look at it. Really look at it. The humans kept themselves in their little corner of space for 50 years. They let us think we had them trapped. But look at this ship. This is decades of advancement we never saw, never detected. They have been building in secret. Velthar felt a chill run through her crystal form. You think this is the start of an invasion? I do not know what this is, Crix admitted. But I know what I saw 50 years ago. 3 of our best fleets disabled in minutes. Not destroyed, disabled. The humans could have wiped us out completely, but they chose not to. This ship represents whatever they have been doing with all that time we thought we had them locked away. On the display screen, the human ship remained motionless, waiting, patient, like a hunter that knew its prey had nowhere to run. Sir, Yalth called out again, her voice tight with fear. Something is happening. I am detecting power changes throughout the ship. It looks like they are preparing to do something. Every eye in the command center turned toward the main screen. The massive human warship hung in space like a dark promise of things to come. 50 years of careful balance, of thinking they were superior, of believing they had contained the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. All of it had just been proven wrong. The humans were here. Admiral Crick stared at the human warship on the main screen and felt memories he had tried to forget for 50 years come flooding back. He had been young then, a junior officer aboard the battleship Eternal Might. Fresh from the academy, eager to prove himself in service to the Galactic Council. The day everything changed started like any other patrol. 3 full battle fleets were conducting routine exercises near the outer edge of Council space when sensors detected an unknown vessel approaching. It was small, maybe the size of a light cruiser with strange markings and an energy signature they had never seen before. Sir, called out Communications Officer Zenth, interrupting Crix's dark thoughts. Council Prime Velthar requests your presence in the secure briefing room. She wants to discuss the human incident from 50 years ago. Crix nodded grimly. Of course she did. Every senior officer who had survived that encounter would be called in now. There were not many of them left. The secure briefing room was deep inside Harmony's edge, protected by 3 layers of energy shields and quantum encryption. When Crix entered, he found 5 other beings already seated around the oval table. All of them bore the same haunted look that he knew was in his own eyes. Council Prime Velthar materialized at the head of the table, her crystal form still flashing with nervous energy. Admiral Crix, thank you for coming. I believe you all know why we are here. General Tice, an old serpent-like alien with scales that had turned gray from age and stress, spoke first. The humans have returned. 1 human ship, corrected Captain Yorth, a small insectoid being whose wings had been damaged in the first human encounter. But if it is anything like before, it is worse than before, Crix said quietly. That ship out there is larger than anything we faced 50 years ago. And if I am reading the energy signatures correctly, it is far more advanced. Velthar's form flickered to a deeper shade of blue. Tell them what you remember, Admiral. Some of our newer officers were not present for the original incident. They need to understand what we are dealing with. Crix closed his 4 eyes and let the memories come. It was supposed to be a simple first contact situation. 1 small human vessel clearly lost, clearly outgunned by our 3 fleets. Standard procedure was to surround them, demand they power down and escort them back to their own space. How many ships did we have? Asked Captain Zorth, a young Altarian who had been promoted after the recent Xerion conflicts. 217 warships, Crix replied, including 15 dreadnoughts and 3 command carriers. The human ship was alone. What happened when you made contact? Captain Cho De-hyun was their commander. I will never forget that name or his face. When we surrounded his ship and demanded surrender, he simply said no, not we refuse or we will fight. Just no. The room fell silent except for the quiet hum of the station's life support systems. Fleet Commander Vextar ordered a warning shot across their bow. Crix continued. Standard procedure to show we were serious. The humans fired back. 1 ship against 200? Captain Zorth leaned forward in his chair. 1 ship, Crix confirmed, but it was like nothing we had ever seen. Their weapons cut through our shields like they were made of paper. Their targeting was perfect. They disabled the engines on 7 dreadnoughts in the first 10 seconds of combat. General Thiss hissed softly, his forked tongue flicking out in agitation. Tell them about the boarding pods. Crix felt a chill run down his spine. While their main guns were tearing apart our outer formations, they launched boarding pods. Hundreds of them. Small, fast, impossible to target effectively. They attached to our hulls and burned through the armor like it was soft metal. The humans came aboard? Captain Zorth's compound eyes widened. They came aboard, Crix confirmed. But they did not kill anyone. They moved through our ships with surgical precision, disabling key systems, taking out weapons arrays, shutting down power cores. They knew exactly where to strike to cripple us without causing casualties. How is that possible? We still do not know, Velthar said. Our ships were built by dozens of different species using hundreds of different technologies. There is no way the humans should have known how to disable them so efficiently. Crix nodded. Within 30 minutes, all 3 fleets were dead in space. Engines down, weapons offline, life support failing. We were completely helpless, and then what happened? Captain Zorth asked. They stopped, Crix said simply. The human ship moved to the center of our formation and broadcast a message on all frequencies. Captain Cho Daehyun appeared on our screens and said, "This was a misunderstanding. We apologize for the intrusion. Stay away from our space and we will stay away from yours." Then they just left. They left? Captain Zorth looked confused. They had you defeated. Why not press their advantage? Because they are human, General Theiss said with bitter experience. They do not think like the rest of us. They could have destroyed every ship, killed everyone aboard, and sent our wreckage back as a warning. Instead, they repaired our life support systems before they left. Repaired them? Their boarding teams fixed the systems they had damaged, Crix explained. They made sure we would not die in space. Then they transmitted detailed repair instructions for everything else they had broken. Captain Zorth sat back in his chair, trying to process what he was hearing. I do not understand. If they were so powerful, why show mercy? That is the question we have been asking for 50 years, Velthar said. Our best minds have studied every detail of that encounter. The humans demonstrated technology beyond our understanding, tactical abilities that should not exist, and then showed restraint that made no strategic sense. Unless, Crix said slowly, they were trying to send us a message. What kind of message? That they could destroy us anytime they wanted to, but chose not to. That battle was not a fight for them. It was a demonstration. The room fell silent again as the implications sank in. Sir, Captain Zorth said finally, if that was just a demonstration 50 years ago, and that ship out there is more advanced than anything they showed us then we are looking at 5 decades of human advancement. Crix finished. 5 decades of them building ships, improving weapons, developing technology while we thought we had them safely contained in their little corner of space. The quarantine was never to keep them locked in. General Theiss realized with growing horror. It was to keep us from seeing what they were really doing. Velthar's crystal form pulsed with rapid flashes of red and orange. Admiral, in your professional opinion, could our current fleet defeat that human warship? Crix looked at each face around the table before answering. Council Prime, based on what I saw 50 years ago, and extrapolating from the advancement they have clearly made, I do not believe our entire galactic defense force could defeat that single ship. Then what do they want? Captain Zorth asked. Why are they here? That, Velthar said grimly, is exactly what we need to find out, and I suspect we are about to get our answer. As if summoned by her words, the intercom crackled to life. Council Prime, this is the command center. The human ship is powering up its communication arrays. It appears they are finally ready to talk. The main screen in the Council Command Center flickered to life, and for the first time in 50 years, a human face appeared before the gathered alien leaders. Captain Lee Taman looked exactly like what the Council had feared. Calm, confident, and completely unimpressed by the massive space station and fleet formations arrayed against his single ship. His dark eyes swept across the alien faces staring back at him with undisguised fear. When he spoke, his voice was steady and matter-of-fact, carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I am Captain Lee Taman of the research vessel Iron Phoenix. You have something that belongs to us." Council Prime Velthar stepped forward, her crystal form flickering with nervous energy. "Captain Lee, this is Council Prime Velthar of the Galactic Council. Your presence here is in violation of the Sol Quarantine Treaty. You must withdraw immediately." Captain Lee's expression did not change. "The treaty you imposed without our consent? The one where you decided to lock us in our own system like prisoners?" He shook his head slowly. "That treaty ended the moment you took one of our people." A chill ran through the command center. Admiral Crix felt his 4 hearts skip a beat. "What are you talking about?" Velthar demanded. "Dr. Lim Seokjin," Captain Lee said simply. "Taken from the research station at Wolf 359 3 years ago. His transport was attacked by unmarked ships. His family was told it was an accident, that there were no survivors." The alien leaders exchanged worried glances. Captain Lee continued in the same calm tone. "But there were survivors, were there not, Counselor Thess? Your science teams have been very interested in Dr. Lim's work on quantum field manipulation." Counselor Thess, the serpent-like alien in charge of the Council's research divisions, coiled back in shock. "How do you know that name? How do you know about our classified projects?" "Because we have been watching you for 50 years, Captain Lee replied. "Did you really think that little quarantine barrier would keep us contained? We have been observing your society, learning your languages, studying your technology. We know about the secret research stations. We know about the illegal experiments. We know about the other species you have abducted for study." Velthar's crystal form flashed bright red. "That is impossible. Our security measures. Your security measures are designed to keep out people who think like you." Captain Lee interrupted. "Humans do not think like you. We do not follow your rules of engagement or your assumptions about what is possible." Admiral Crix stepped forward. "Captain, if you have been watching us, then you know we have over 300 warships in this system. You are outnumbered and surrounded." Captain Lee smiled for the first time since the transmission began. It was not a pleasant smile. "Admiral Crix, is it not? The sole survivor of the bridge crew of the Eternal Might? You should know better than anyone how little your numbers mean." The old warrior felt ice in his veins. The human not only knew his name, but his service record from 5 decades ago. "You see," Captain Lee continued, "while you were building walls to keep us locked away, we were building something much more important. We were building understanding. Understanding of your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. What do you want?" Velthar demanded. "I told you. We want Dr. Lim Seokjin returned to us along with all data derived from his research. You have 1 hour. 1 hour? Counselor Thess hissed. "That is impossible. The Council does not negotiate with terrorists." "Terrorists?" Captain Lee's calm expression hardened. "You abducted one of our citizens. You have been conducting illegal experiments on sentient beings. You created a quarantine zone without our consent to hide your activities. And we are the terrorists? We are the lawful authority in this galaxy," Velthar declared. "The Council represents over 40,000 civilized worlds. You represent one small system on the edge of nowhere." "One small system," Captain Lee repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, that is what you believe." Commander Park showed them the real situation. The image split and a second human appeared on the screen. Commander Park Minji was younger than Captain Lee, but carried herself with the same quiet confidence. She gestured to something off-screen. "Council Prime, according to our records, you believe humanity controls 3 star systems, Sol, Wolf 359, and Leland. Is that correct?" "That is what our intelligence reports," Velthar confirmed. "Your intelligence is 50 years out of date," Commander Park said. "Humans currently maintain active colonies in 117 star systems. We have outposts in over 300 more. Our deep space exploration fleets have mapped territories extending in every direction from Earth." The Council Command Center erupted in shocked exclamations and panicked chittering. "That is impossible." Admiral Crix protested. "We have sensors, patrols, automated monitoring systems, all of which we have been avoiding for decades," Captain Lee said. "Did you think we learned nothing from our first encounter with your forces? You showed us your capabilities. We adapted. But the quarantine zone," Velthar began. Is a fence around an empty house, Commander Park finished. We maintain a small presence in the Sol system to keep you convinced you have us contained. Meanwhile, the real human expansion has been happening in directions you never thought to look. Captain Lee leaned forward in his chair. You made two critical mistakes, Council Prime. First, you assumed we would stay trapped behind your barriers instead of finding ways around them. Second, you assumed we would remain static while you advanced. The Iron Phoenix is not a warship despite its size and armament, Commander Park added. It is a deep space research vessel with minor defensive modifications. Our actual military vessels are still in human space because we did not need them for this mission. The implications hit the Council leaders like a physical blow. If this massive ship was just a research vessel, what did their actual warships look like? You are bluffing, Admiral Crick said, but his voice lacked conviction. Are we? Captain Lee asked. Tell me, Admiral, in the past month, have you had any unexplained sensor glitches? Any systems that went offline for no apparent reason? Any data files that seemed to corrupt themselves? Crick's face went pale. There had been dozens of such incidents across the fleet. We have been inside your systems for weeks, Captain Lee revealed, learning your current capabilities, studying your defensive measures, preparing for this moment. If we wanted to destroy your fleet, we could have done it before you even knew we were here. Then why this confrontation? Velthar asked. Why reveal yourselves at all? Because this is not about conquest, Captain Lee said. This is about setting the record straight. You have been operating under the delusion that humanity is a minor primitive species that you successfully contained. It is time you learned the truth. He stood up from his chair, his presence somehow filling the screen despite the vast distances involved. Dr. Lim Seokjin will be returned to us, along with all research derived from his work. The quarantine zone will be dissolved. You will establish formal diplomatic relations with the human colonial authority, and you will cease all illegal experimentation on sentient beings. And if we refuse? Thais challenged. Captain Lee's smile returned cold and predatory. Then you will learn why we have spent 50 years preparing for this conversation, instead of having it sooner. The transmission ended, leaving the Council leaders staring at a blank screen and the impossible human warship that hung in space like a promise of things to come. 1 hour to make a decision that would reshape the galaxy forever. The hour passed faster than anyone in the Council Command Center wanted. Every minute brought new reports from across the system as fleet commanders frantically tried to understand what they were up against. The human ship, the Iron Phoenix, had not moved from its position, but sensor readings showed massive energy buildups across its hull. Status report, Council Prime Velthar demanded, her crystal form now flickering between red and orange so rapidly it looked like fire. Admiral Crick stood at the tactical display, surrounded by floating holographic screens showing fleet positions. All available ships are in position, Prime. We have 231 vessels surrounding the human ship at maximum combat range. Every weapon is charged and ready. What about Dr. Lim? She asked. Counselor Thys coiled his serpent-like body nervously. The research subject is being prepared for transfer, but Prime, the data he provided, has been integrated into dozens of our projects. We cannot simply hand over years of classified research to these humans. Research subject? The voice came from speakers throughout the command center. Captain Lee Taman's image appeared on the main screen again, but this time he was not alone. Standing beside him was a thin, tired-looking human in a white medical gown. Dr. Lim Seokjin, the man said in accented but clear galactic standard. Though I suppose you know me better by my assigned number, Subject 7341. Velthar felt her core temperature drop several degrees. How are you broadcasting on our secure channels? Your secure channel stopped being secure the moment we arrived, Captain Lee replied calmly. Dr. Lim, would you please tell the Council about your time as their guest? The human scientist looked directly at the alien leaders, his eyes holding a quiet fury that made several of them step back. 3 years. 3 years of being treated like a laboratory animal. They studied my brain patterns, took samples of my DNA, performed experiments on my cognitive functions. They wanted to understand how humans think, how we solve problems they could not. That research was vital to galactic security. Thys protested. Your species represents an unknown threat. Unknown? Dr. Lim laughed bitterly. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew I had family, knew I was missed, knew that people would look for me. You just did not care. Captain Lee placed a hand on the scientist's shoulder. Thank you, Doctor. Please return to the medical bay for your examination. He looked back at the council leaders. Your hour's up. What is your decision? We reject your demands, Velthar declared, trying to project strength she did not feel. The council does not negotiate with extortionists. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. I see. Captain Lee nodded as if he had expected this answer. Very well. Allow me to show you the consequences of your decision. The transmission ended. For a moment, the command center was silent except for the hum of machinery and the nervous sounds of various alien species under stress. Then the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red light. Alarm systems began wailing as technicians frantically worked at their stations. Report, Admiral Crick shouted over the noise. Sir, we are showing massive system failures across the entire fleet, called out sensor operator Yalth. Every ship is reporting the same problems. Weapons offline, shields down, engines not responding. That is impossible, Crix protested. These systems are hardened against electromagnetic attack. They cannot all fail at once. They are not failing, sir. Yalth replied, her voice tight with fear. They are being rewritten. On the main screen, data streams flowed in patterns none of them recognized. Ship after ship reported complete loss of tactical systems. Weapons that had been charged and ready to fire suddenly went dark. Shield generators that had been running for decades simply stopped. What is happening? Velthar demanded. Chief Engineer Thyman buzzed his insect wings frantically as he studied the readings. Prime, it appears the humans have introduced some kind of nanoscale infiltrators into our systems. They are rewriting our core programming at the quantum level. How is that possible? I do not know, Thyman admitted. This technology is beyond anything in our databases. They are treating our most advanced systems like simple toys. Captain Lee's image reappeared on the screen. Behind him, the human crew worked calmly at their stations as if disabling an entire galactic fleet was just routine maintenance. Impressive, is it not? He said conversationally. 50 years ago, we had to board your ships to disable them. Now we can do it remotely. We have been learning. You are attacking civilian vessels, Velthar accused. This is an act of war. War? Captain Lee raised an eyebrow. Look at your casualty reports, Prime. How many beings have died in the last 10 minutes? Velthar checked the displays frantically. Across the fleet, every ship was reporting the same thing. Systems offline, but crew safe. Life support was functioning perfectly. Emergency power was stable. Nobody had been hurt. You see, Captain Lee continued, we could have destroyed your fleet completely. Every ship, every station, every life. But that is not who we are. Instead, we are demonstrating that your technology cannot protect you from us. What do you want? Admiral Crix asked, his warrior pride finally broken by the display of overwhelming superiority. I told you what we want, Captain Lee replied. Dr. Lim returned safely. All research derived from him handed over, the quarantine dissolved, and formal diplomatic relations established. And if we agree, then we restore your systems and begin negotiations for a proper treaty between equals. Equals? Theiss hissed. You have just demonstrated that we are not equals. You are clearly superior. Superior in some ways, yes, Captain Lee acknowledged. But you have things we lack as well. A galactic government that has maintained peace for centuries. Trade networks that span thousands of systems. Scientific knowledge in areas we have not explored. We do not want to conquer you. We want to join you. Join us. As partners, not subjects. Humanity has spent 50 years growing and learning in isolation. We are ready to take our place in galactic society. But we will not do it from a position of weakness or imprisonment. On the tactical displays, fleet commanders were reporting something new. Their systems were not just offline. They were being upgraded. Human technology was integrating with alien systems, improving efficiency, strengthening defenses. You are repairing our ships? Crix asked in amazement. We are upgrading them, Captain Lee corrected. Consider it a gift, a demonstration of what cooperation between our species could accomplish. Commander Park Minji appeared beside him on the screen. Council Prime, we have prepared detailed proposals for technology sharing, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. We believe both sides would benefit greatly from such cooperation. But first, Captain Lee added, Dr. Lim comes home. Velthar looked around the command center at her fellow council members. 50 years of assumptions had been shattered in less than an hour. Everything they thought they knew about humanity, about their own superiority, about the balance of power in the galaxy, had been proven wrong. "Very well," she said finally. "Dr. Lim will be returned immediately. We accept your terms." Captain Lee smiled, and for the first time it looked genuinely warm. "Excellent. I think this is the beginning of a very interesting partnership." Across the system, alien ships began coming back online, their systems now enhanced with human technology. The quarantine that had lasted 50 years was finally over. 3 days later, Dr. Lim Seokjin stood in the medical bay of the Iron Phoenix, breathing freely for the first time in 3 years. The human ship's doctor, Dr. Yu Sujin, had run every test imaginable to ensure he had suffered no permanent damage from his captivity. "How do you feel?" Dr. Yu asked, studying the results on her holographic display. "Free," Dr. Lim replied simply. "I had given up hope that anyone would come for me." "Humanity never abandons its own," Captain Lee Taman said from the doorway. "I am sorry it took us so long to find you." 3 years to mount a rescue mission across half the galaxy? Dr. Lim shook his head in amazement. "Captain, what you accomplished here is impossible by every measure of physics and military strategy I understand." "Nothing is impossible," Captain Lee replied. "Some things just take more preparation than others. We spent 50 years getting ready for this conversation with the Council." Dr. Lim looked out the medical bay viewport at the massive Council space station. Dozens of alien ships moved around it in careful patterns, their crews still trying to understand what had happened to their systems. "Are we really going to work with them after what they did?" "What they did was wrong," Captain Lee acknowledged. "But it came from fear and ignorance, not malice. They thought they were protecting themselves from a threat they did not understand. Now they understand better." Ambassador Bae Jungyun entered the medical bay, carrying a datapad loaded with diplomatic protocols. She had arrived that morning aboard a small human courier ship that had appeared just as suddenly and impossibly as the Iron Phoenix itself. "Captain," she said with a slight bow, "the Council has accepted all our initial terms. They want to begin formal negotiations immediately." "What are they offering?" "Full recognition of human sovereignty over our current territory, technology sharing agreements, and a seat on the Council itself. They are also prepared to turn over all research materials derived from Dr. Lim's work." Dr. Lim looked up sharply. "All of it?" "They spent 3 years extracting information from me. That represents a massive intelligence advantage, which they are willing to give up in exchange for peace," Ambassador Bae replied. "They are more afraid of continued conflict than they are protective of their research." Captain Lee nodded thoughtfully. "What about the other abductees?" 17 beings from 12 different species, all held in similar research facilities. The Council has agreed to release all of them and provide reparations to their families. "Good. And their illegal research programs?" "Shut down completely with oversight from an independent commission that will include human observers." Dr. Lim sat back in his medical chair, overwhelmed by the scope of the changes. "In 3 days you have completely restructured galactic politics." "We have restructured nothing," Captain Lee corrected. "We have simply revealed what already existed. Humanity has been a galactic power for decades. The Council just did not know it." Through the viewport they could see another human ship approaching the station. This one was sleek and obviously built for speed rather than research. Ambassador Bae checked her data pad. That would be the swift current with the formal, diplomatic team from Earth. They will handle the detailed negotiations while we return Dr. Lim home. Home. Dr. Lim tasted the word like fine wine. I had almost forgotten what that felt like. Captain Lee placed a hand on the scientist's shoulder. "Your family is waiting. Your daughter graduated from university last year with highest honors. She specialized in xenobiology, hoping to understand the aliens who took her father." Tears formed in Dr. Lim's eyes. "She was only 15 when I was taken. She is brilliant and determined just like her father. I think you will find she has grown into a remarkable young woman." Dr. Yu finished her medical scans and powered down her equipment. "Dr. Lim is cleared for travel, Captain. No permanent damage from his captivity, though I recommend extended counseling when he returns to Earth." "Thank you, Doctor." Captain Lee turned to Ambassador Bae. "How are the Council leaders handling the transition?" "Better than expected. Council Prime Velthar seems genuinely interested in cooperation. Admiral Crix has requested detailed briefings on human military doctrine, apparently for defensive purposes only. Even Counselor Thys has expressed interest in legitimate scientific exchange. And the rest of the galaxy? News of the Iron Phoenix's arrival is spreading quickly. Most species are shocked but relieved. The Council's iron grip on galactic affairs has made many civilizations uncomfortable. The prospect of a new major power that demonstrated restraint rather than conquest has generated considerable goodwill. Captain Lee walked to the viewport and looked out at the alien ships surrounding them. Each one now carried human technology integrated into its systems, a visible symbol of the new cooperation between species. 50 years ago, Captain Cho Dae-hyun sent a message to the Council. He said quietly, "Stay away from us and we will stay away from you." It was meant as a kindness, giving them time to grow and mature before they had to deal with humanity as a neighbor. Did it work? Dr. Lim asked. In some ways. The Council did mature, created stable governments, ended several wars, advanced their technology significantly. But they also developed an arrogance that led them to believe they could treat other species as subjects rather than partners. And now, Captain Lee smiled. Now they understand that the galaxy is bigger than they thought, and that cooperation is more valuable than domination. Commander Park Min-ji's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission from the Council. They want to schedule a formal ceremony to mark the beginning of diplomatic relations." "Tell them we would be honored to attend," Captain Lee replied. "But first we have a promise to keep." He turned back to Dr. Lim. "Are you ready to go home, Doctor?" Dr. Lim stood up, his legs still a bit unsteady after 3 years of captivity, but his eyes bright with hope. "I have been ready for 3 years, Captain." "Then let us not keep your family waiting any longer." As the Iron Phoenix prepared to depart for human space, Council Prime Velthar watched from her observation deck aboard Harmony's Edge. Her crystal form had settled into a steady blue glow, the first time she had felt truly calm in decades. Admiral Crix joined her at the viewport, his scarred features thoughtful as he watched the massive human ship power up its exotic drive systems. "Do you think they will keep their word?" he asked. "Yes," Velthar replied without hesitation. "They could have destroyed us easily, but chose not to. They could have conquered our territory, but asked for partnership instead. These humans are not like us, Crix. They think in terms of centuries, not years. They plan for cooperation, not domination. It will take time for the galaxy to adjust. Time we now have thanks to their patience." Velthar's form shimmered with something that might have been hope. "I think we are about to enter a new age of galactic civilization, Admiral. An age where strength is measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the wisdom to build." The Iron Phoenix vanished into hyperspace, carrying Dr. Lim Sukjin home to a family that had never stopped believing he would return. Behind them, the galaxy began the slow process of learning to see humanity not as a threat to be contained, but as partners in shaping the future among the stars. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun.